On the news at 7, as World marks Tuberculosis Day, Ondo State government encourages patients to explore facilities for free medical attention. Ondo governor's wife reawakes journalists to watchdog role as Arabinrin Ayawakiridolu hugs and Defense Headquarters regales Nigerians with breakthrough in insurgency fight. And from the foreign scene, NATO leaders vow to reinforce amid Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Today is World Tuberculosis Day. Each year is commemorated to raise public awareness about the devastating health, social and economic consequences of TB and to step up efforts to end the global epidemic. According to medical experts, tuberculosis remains one of the world's deadliest infectious killers, and each day over 4,100 people lose their lives and close to 28,000 people fall ill to this disease annually. The theme for this year's World TB Day, Invest to End TB, Save Lives, conveys the urgent need to invest resources to ramp up the fight against tuberculosis and achieve the commitment to end TB. Meanwhile, Ondo State government says treatment for tuberculosis is free of charge in all its health facilities. Commissioner for Health, Dr. Banji Ajaka, spoke at the symposium to mark this year's Tuberculosis Day in Akure, the state capital, asked patients to explore the opportunity. The report is presented from our studio.
Tuberculosis remains one of the world's deadliest infectious killers. Findings, however, reports say COVID-19 pandemic has reversed years of progress made in the fight to end tuberculosis. The urgent need treatment to end the disease informed the theme of this year's World Tobacco, commemorating the day in Ondo State. The Commissioner for Health, Dr. Banji Ajaka, represented by Dr. Richard Adesoji, said though tuberculosis remains one of the world's deadliest infectious killers, it is easily curable and
tuberculosis in Ondo State. There is need for continued concerted effort to find, treat, and cure the over 9,000 missing TB cases through unrepentant founding and support of all and sundry. I enjoy everyone who join and keep with this new
Health Matters doctor engagement to step up efforts against the tuberculosis epidemic will be held in selected local government areas of Ondo State.
The Ondo State House of Assembly has tasked the newly confirmed member of the Judicial Service Commission, Mr. Ayodeji Akinkunle, to exhibit discipline in the discharge of his duties. And a plenary presided over by the Speaker, Bamidele Oleologun, Mr. Akinkunle was confirmed following the presentation of a report of the Selection Committee to members. House of Assembly correspondent Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi now reports.
The confirmation of the nominee opened the floor for legislative business after an 8-week recess, presenting the
questions put across to him. Concerns the required experience of Ondo State Judicial Service Commission.
The lawmakers who took turns to assess the nominee charged him on dignified behavior in the discharge of his duty. Upon satisfaction of the requirements of his office, the Speaker, Bamidele Oleologun, ruled for the confirmation of Mr. Akinkunle's appointment after a unanimous decision of the House.
Confirmation and appointment. Are you supporting this? If you support this, say aye. Aye. Against the bill. There is something.
The appointee, Ayodeji.
I'm also glad to tell you that I am seeing to the welfare of judicial officers, taking care of judicial infrastructure, upon peace of our people is intact, and that justice is delivered on time, because justice delayed is justice denied.
You're still watching Osrc News at 7. We'll bring you more stories after the commercial break. Please stay with us.
Oh, I see this collab where they shoot there. Blue scatter. Guy, give me small new number now.
Romance without finance na annoyance. Better give me bullet.
Yeah, give me the number.
Oh yeah, jot the number down. 005.
Where the complete number?
So hot like the blights I go need juice so. What's you?
Smiley, hello, how are you? Guys, your first collab was on the train, dude. Give me now.
Find your phone.
Thank you very much for rejoining us on the news at 7. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, OSRC TV Undo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Undo. Wife of Ondo State Governor Betsy Anyanwu Akeredolu as challenging of communication scholars and professionals of Nigeria, Imo State Chapter, held in Owerri, the state capital. Omorion Lahungbejerens at the event.
Association of Communication Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria was established, as well as the chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Imo State.
About women with cancer issues. She said no woman should die of breast cancer, and I think I totally agree with her.
Has made me to know that in media we still have a lot of things to do to the public from what she has said, and that has given us a very big challenge for us to work harder.
And there is the award of excellence.
Mrs. Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu was one of those honored with awards of excellence at the event.
The federal government says the second Niger bridge linking Anambra and Delta State, scheduled for completion in February 22nd, is Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola during the special weekly ministerial briefing in Abuja. According to him, the 206 billion naira project has directly employed 1,486 people will be completed by the end of the year, while the main carriageway of the National Working Committee (NWC) of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) is to come up with as awarded scholarship to 22 students across different secondary schools in Ondo State. Founder of the NGO, Damilola respondent Oladoyin Ayegbusi, was there.
Ministry, a non-governmental organization, since its creation in 2018 has prioritized societal rebirth through intervention in the education sector. The latest of such interventions targeted 22 students drawn from different secondary schools in Ondo State who were awarded scholarships. The NGO founder and magistrate in Ondo State, Damilola Shekoni, said the gesture is to always avail brilliant but economically disadvantaged students the opportunity to keep alive their desire for qualitative education. Magistrate Shekoni noted that society will be a better place to live in if relevance continue to intensify effort and campaign for a paradigm shift.
We don't expect the government to do everything. But if we in our own little way, with the little resources God has given to us, we can see one or two persons, we can meet their needs. Why not? My joy is the smile on these students' faces. I'm fulfilled. They might be suffering from low self-esteem. When they are entering school tomorrow, they are walking into school with their heads raised, with broad shoulders.
Femi Agagu, represented by the Director of Schools, Akindele Ige, appreciated the founder for promoting education in the state. Patricia Association in the state, Alhaji Abimbola Obashaye, Mrs. Omotola Ojoge, enjoined well-meaning Nigerians to harness the gesture.
This program has actually proved to the outside world that it's not when you want to take something from people that you give to them. This gentleman is not aiming for anything. It's not.
I'm quite sure that my girls are happy.
Some of the beneficiaries promise not to disappoint their benefactor.
I'll repeat.
As exemplified by Daniel Heritage Ministries, will no doubt help to reduce the figure and revive hope of brilliant students whose poverty would have killed their dreams. Oladoyin Ayegbusi, OSRC News.
The Ologumolare Arijodi family of Eleyewu in Akure North local government area has reaffirmed Mrs. Cecilia Ologede as the head of the household at Eleyewu. Addressing media professionals, Mrs. Ologede urged the public to disregard any counter-information. Mrs. Ologede says she remains the head of the remains the secretary of the family. Osrc's Zimo Ebieme reports as presented from our studios.
For some time now, the family of Ologumolare Arijodi has been at loggerhead over the family land and who the head of the family should be when the matter was taken to an Akure High Store Akintadeoni as secretary, but aggrieved members discountenanced the court verdict.
Chief Mrs. Cecilia Ologede.
Addressing journalists, Mrs. Ologede insisted that she remains the head of the family, saying the court had affirmed her leadership. Ologede said she had complied with the court judgment that a committee between the two groups should be set up in ensuring that differences are settled amicably, but the other group has rejected all entreaties to resolve the matter.
Chief Mrs. Cecilia Ologede kò sẹ́ni tó yọ mí ní chairman o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pásítọ̀ yìí ò ní kò sẹ́ni tó yọ ní secretary o tí wọ́n tún wọ́n ní wọ́n yàn òfo ní o òfo pátápátá ńlá ní ká sọ kí gbogbo àgbáyé tó gbọ́ ìkejì tó tún rí bí rẹ̀ ni pé anybody máa ra nǹkan lọ́wọ́ wọn o ẹ má dẹ̀ fún wọn lówó.
Also speaking, an elder of the family, James Fagbamigbe, called on the warring faction to sheathe their sword for the program.
Come together, they should let us come together and family.
The head of the family, the secretary, and Pa Fagbamigbe appealed to other factions to follow the court judgment and allow peace to reign.
The Defense Headquarters says 47,975 terrorists and their families have so far surrendered to troops of Operation Ardin Kai in the northeast from September 2021 to date. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Oyoko, while giving an update on military operations in Abuja, said the achievement of the military within the period included the killing of 17 terrorists, arrest of 3 motorcycles and 13 bicycles used by the terrorists for movement. According to him, while 7,000 Islamic States of West Africa, he added that the surrendered terrorists have been profiled, while rescued civilians and recovered items were handed over to appropriate authorities for further action. And a Christian wake has been held for the late former Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Mr. Bamiduro Dada. Christian wake was held at his residence at the Court of Appeal Estate in Akure. Meanwhile, the remains of Mr. Dada would be buried at his hometown, Akoko, in Akoko Southwest Local Government area of Ondo State tomorrow. The line in state will be held at his Akoko residence by 9 in the morning, while the funeral service will take place at the Holy Trinity Anglican Church, Akoko, by 12 noon. Aged 62, Mr. Dada popularly called the Federal Medical Center or during a brief illness. And out to the foreign scene, thousands of Sudanese today took to the streets. The military seized power on October 25, triggering international condemnation and punitive measures. The coup opened a transition to civilian rule after the 2019 ouster of autocratic President Omar al-Bashir, following mass protests against his iron-fisted 3 decades in power. Sudan, one of the world's poorest countries, has been reeling from a plunging economy due to decades of international isolation and mismanagement under Bashir. Since the coup, led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the Northeast African country has suffered from international aid cuts and economic turmoil. And still on the foreign scene, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, leaders have agreed to bolster defense along the alliance's
President Putin's war against Ukraine. The people of Ukraine are resisting with courage and determination, fighting for their freedom and for their future. We stand with them. Today, NATO leaders agreed that we must and will provide further support to Ukraine. We will continue to impose unprecedented costs on Russia, and we will reinforce allied deterrence and defense. Leaders approved our 4 new battle groups in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. These are in addition to the 4 already in the Baltic countries and Poland. So we have 8 multinational NATO battle groups now, from the Baltic Sea.
And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg speaking there. And now to sport. The Super Eagles of Nigeria on the Black Stars of Ghana in a clash that promises to be thrilling. A total of 25 players, as well as the team's coach and crew and backroom staff, touched down Kumasi at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja on Tuesday. Still reeling in the disappointment of an unimpressive outing at the last Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Cameroon, the Black Stars and the Eagles are hoping to make with qualification for the 2022 World Cup. While the Super Eagles were at the last World Cup in Russia, the Black Stars missed out. The game between Ghana and Nigeria will kick off by 8:30 this evening. And with that sports story, we conclude the news at 7, but before we go, a quick look